Hello and welcome to Enjoy the View Travel. Let's Go Cruise Celebrity Summit Edition. Thanks for joining us for part 5 and welcome to Cozumel, Mexico. We are going to have an excursion today. We're going to talk about some food on the ship always. We're going to talk about a little bit of entertainment, and today's a special day. It's my birthday. Here's a quick cruise tip before we get into today's activities. Make a screensaver like you see right here that says, if found, please return to guest services. This phone belongs to. Put your name on there and put your cabin number on there. That way, if somebody loses their phone and somebody finds it, then your information is on the picture that pops up on the screen. And it makes it so much easier getting this back to the correct person. They can take it to guest services. Some people could even return it to you to your cabin, but it makes getting your phone back so much easier if you should lose it. Just a quick tip. So we started off today in the buffet for breakfast. As you can see, they had quite a good option of things on the buffet. I do wish they had a little bit more veggies because I like to have some veggies with my breakfast and at every meal. I did get some mushrooms. They did have some mushrooms, so I piled those up in the middle. And I tried to keep the carbs to a minimum. So as you can see, I've got a omelet back there. I've got some bacon. I've got some mushrooms. I do have some breakfast potatoes over here. And then I have a chocolate croissant and a regular croissant. I just can't help it, y'all. The croissants on the cruise are amazing. One of the things I always like to do, if I can, is to be out on the balcony or up on the deck when we are coming into a port. It lets you see coming in, but it also lets you see other cruise ships that you might want to cruise on. Today, when we pulled into the port, we were docked beside a Norwegian cruise line. I can't remember off the top of my head which ship this was, but I do know that it was Norwegian. So it gave me a really good look at their kind of layout with all their balconies and everything. And so maybe we'll do a Norwegian sometime. Not sure. So as we were finishing up breakfast, we could see the icon of the seas off in the distance. So there's a couple of different piers for the ships to dock at in Cozumel. And so they were down at one of the other piers from where we were, but we could still see them. And of course, it's such a big ship and amazing. And we also got to see it sail away when we were coming back to our ship. So that was pretty cool too. If you see that arrow right there, it is pointing to what looks to be like a tricycle. It's called a rickshaw. Some of the people call them pedicabs because they take pedestrians to the end of the pier. So some of the piers can be quite long. And so it makes it easier if you have a mobility issue or you don't like to walk long distances. You can just hop in one of these and they will take you to the end of the pier. There is no cost to actually ride in it. However, make sure that you do give them a nice tip at the end when they get you down there. And they're also available coming back. So we have an excursion today. And when we got to the end of the pier, we found out that there was a little bit of a delay in us leaving for our excursion. So we ended up having to sit at the end of the pier, and there were places to sit. It did give me the opportunity to go and buy a souvenir or two at a little shop that was right there. And we were able to get some great views. This is a picture that I took, just gorgeous. So, I mean, you know, even when you're having to wait for your excursion to start, it's not a bad thing. I mean, to be able to sit and look at this nice view. But we did have a little bit of a delay, and so I was able to take a few pictures while we were waiting. So I was able to come across to the other side of the pier, and I got an amazing shot of the Celebrity Summit. The Celebrity Summit is the oldest ship on Celebrity's fleet. It is also the smallest ship on Celebrity's fleet, and as you can see, it compared to the Norwegian ship it is quite a bit smaller. Okay, so I wanted you to see that, but make sure if you are able or have to wait for your excursion to start and you have time at the end of the pier, be sure to get pictures from both sides and different angles so you don't miss anything. So one of the things I was doing while we were waiting was I was watching these boats, and they never came close enough. This was a zoomed in shot of the boat. And I was just like, why does it look like these people are literally sitting on the water? And so we got to talking about it, and we figured out that it's a glass bottom boat. So you can like literally see through it. It was really messing with my mind, y'all. I couldn't figure it out first, but it was really cool. And we saw quite a few of them while we were there. So always pay attention for the unique and different things. And if you don't know what something is, don't be afraid to ask. We ended up asking our excursion guide, and he was like, oh yeah, it's a glass bottom boat. So be sure to ask, you never know. But I thought that was pretty cool. Never been in one, not sure I would like it. It is kind of smaller boat, but it looked pretty cool. All right, our boat finally arrived for us to head to the island. Like I said, it was a little bit late. So this is a 2-tiered boat. So if you were in the bottom part, then you were covered from the sun. And there was also a top part, and the top part obviously is open. So you want to make sure that you get underneath if you can. So we grabbed a row. We're able to enjoy the ride. Some beautiful, beautiful views on the way there I'm going to share with you in the next couple of slides. All right, so our boat ride probably lasted about, 30, 45 minutes, maybe a touch longer. We finally arrived at Isla de Passion, and it did not disappoint. Couple of things I want to tell you about. The pier that the boat, and you can see in this picture over here, the boat parked alongside the pier, was not in the best shape. So you did have to watch where you were walking and pay attention so that you did not step in any holes. There were a couple of places where the wood was apart just a little bit, maybe a piece that had been broken off. So they could update their pier just a little bit and it'd be a little bit safer. So if you have anybody with mobility issues, that might be a little something that you want to think about. Also, you can see from the pier here, we had to walk down the pier, and there's a couple of steps down the pier to the sand. Okay, and then you can see these people right here in the picture. You had to walk from the pier down to where all the chairs and things like that were. Now, it's a little bit of a walk. Of course, it's in sand. So again, if you have anybody that has mobility issues, these are things you want to think about. So it's a little bit of a walk from the pier. It's not horrible or anything, but by the time you get to where the sand is a little bit harder and not so soft, you are a little bit tired from walking in the sand. So keep that in mind. If you are booking an excursion like this, you may want to make sure that you read all of the details about the excursion. If you can go and read reviews from other people who have been on the excursion, go and watch videos from people who have been. Those things are going to help you in determining what excursions you want to take. Now, we did get this excursion on sale. If I had to pay full price for this excursion, I probably would not have gone. Would I go back? I'd probably go back. Keeping in mind that we were late leaving, and then there'll be a couple other things that I talk about in the next couple of slides when I'm showing pictures and stuff of things that you want to keep in mind. So the pictures look a little bit foggy. I did have my phone in one of those protective pouches so that I could wear it around my neck while we were out in the water. And by the way, it worked amazing. I highly recommend that. So I kept all of my important stuff on me. So I had my phone in there, and I had my passport in there. It had my credit cards and my money in there that I might need to use while we were on this excursion. So I was able to keep that with me at all times, and I didn't have to worry about that. The water was great. You can kind of see in the group picture, and then in the picture with my mom and I, in the background, there are some white chairs. Now, if you are a person that has a problem getting down on the ground, these chairs basically sat, like your bottom part sat on the ground. It was kind of where your legs would be up over, and your bottom was pretty much, that part was on the ground, like not actually touching the sand, but in the chair. And then the chair had a back to it. So anyway, you basically had to get down in the sand to get in this chair. It was not a chair that you just could sit down on, like you were getting all the way down to the sand to get in these loungers. For that reason, we did not get in the loungers. Not that there weren't any available. There were, but we were also a group of 4, and there was not a lot with a group of 4 together. It was more like 2 here or 2 here. Most of the ones that had a group of 4 were already taken because we are not the only cruise ship that was in port. So you had other cruise ships that were coming to this same island. So you have to take that into consideration as well. But we were able to snag us a table with 4 chairs, and that worked just as well, just to be able to sit in that, because most of the time we were out in the water while we were there. And then a couple of them went back and sat in the chairs for a little bit because they thought they were getting a little too much sun. But let's also talk about lunch real quick. Okay, lunch is provided on this excursion, as are drinks. We did bring us each a bottle of water. The drinks were okay. The line wasn't horribly bad for drinks. It was limited on what you could get. You only had like 3 or 4 options on a mixed drink, and then I think they had a couple of options for beer. The lunch, however, was a different story. By the time that we got up to the lunch, they had basically nothing left. There was no silverware washed and ready for anybody once we got there. So the other ships that came in before us, and obviously ate before us, they were not having a good turnaround of getting dishes and silverware and stuff washed so that you could have that. So you pretty much had to eat with your hands. So they had some chips and salsa and maybe some guacamole. I don't remember if they had guacamole. So you could kind of use your chips to help you eat. But again, by the time we got up there, there was not much to pick from. And it was mostly heavy carb based foods. They did have a few things that were kid friendly, but you did not have much of a choice. So the lunch option that came with this excursion was not great. but we managed until we got back to the ship. So my suggestion for you is, if you don't know what the lunch situation is going to look like, and a lot of times you don't, bring some extra snacks with you in your backpack because you may need them. So one of the cool things about this island is that they had some hammocks that you could lay in the water, and that was amazing. Absolutely loved that. Myself and my friend went over and did some time over with the hammocks. They also had some swings that you could get up and swing, but if I remember correctly, they were like extremely high up out of the water. And so you had to I'm not the most physically fit person, obviously. And you had some physically fit people trying to get up in these swings, and it was difficult for them. And I was like, I am not even going there. I will head to the hammocks and be just happy. And so this was a great way to end our time here at the island in the hammock for my birthday. And so I highly, highly recommend that. So on this particular excursion, when you got there, they told you about what color your group would be for loading back to go back to the ship, and what time you were supposed to meet, and at what location you were supposed to meet your person. So we probably had about 20 minutes before we were supposed to meet. So we went ahead and started packing our things up and getting our things ready to head over there so that we could get ready to leave. Now, if you remember, I told you that we were late leaving. So on the way over, I spoke to the guy and I said, hey, our ship leaves at 5:30. We were late leaving. Are we going to be late getting back? Oh, no. Everything's fine. This is a ship excursion anyway. If we had to be late for some reason, it would be perfectly fine. Okay. I understand that. But I specifically asked, would we be leaving on time? Oh, yes, we'll be leaving on time. We're going to meet at this time and then load. So, of course, that time rolls around and we're up at our meeting spot. And of course, not everybody is at the meeting spot. So they're running around the beach trying to gather everybody up so that we have all of our people to head back. Now, we can see the pier from where we are standing. There is no boat, so it is not even there yet. So, of course, they come and tell us that the boat coming to get us is running a little late, and it'll be there shortly. Well, it finally gets there, and I'm like, okay, I can do the math. We are not going to make it back to be back on the ship at 5:30. And so you can, on the way back, and I'm like, at this point, I'm like, it is what it is. Let's, they're supposed to wait on us. Let's hope that they do. And you can see our lead person is frantically on the phone with someone as we're on the way back. And so this is a picture of the pier. Remember I told you there were some holes in it. There were some bigger ones than this. This is just kind of spacing to let it expand, but there were some bigger spacings in some of them, and some of them had pieces missing. So you just have to be careful on that. And then this is a picture of us leaving the pier and headed back to the ship. So just keep in mind that, yes, even though we're doing an excursion through the ship and they're supposed to wait for you, they have to keep a schedule too. But we weren't going to be that late. We just were not going to be there at 5:30. So I just decided to sit back, enjoy the views as we were headed back. It was great to see the ship and to see that it was still there and had not left without us. And we were just hoping that it would stay that way and that they hadn't taken the gangway up. So we finally got docked and they let us off the boat and we got to the ship. And of course, we're all trying to walk fast so we can get to the ship. And one of the He's not the captain, I don't think, but one of the officers was out there, and he says, no, you don't have to rush. He says, you're not the only excursion we're waiting on. So there was at least one more excursion, a Jeep excursion that wasn't back yet either. He said, so take your time. It's okay. He says, you have plenty of time to get on. So that was our first experience of cutting it really close. And I'm sure that there were some people up there, expecting pier runner type things. And I was like, I'm not running. I'm like, I will walk fast, but I will not run. So it all worked out fine, but just be aware that your excursions can leave late. They can arrive back late. That's one of the reasons why I only book excursions through the ship. I know a lot of people book them elsewhere because they're cheaper and there's usually a lot more options. But and some of them do offer a guarantee that they'll have you back before your ship leaves. But I just, on the off chance of something happening, I want that little extra reassurance that this is through the ship. And should our excursion not get back and the ship leaves, then they will get me to the next port. So that is like a safety net. Otherwise, you are responsible for getting yourself to the next port or back home. So keep all of those things in mind when you are picking an excursion. But I do have to say, we had some of the most amazing views of the water and of the sky and of our ship. So take all of that stuff in. So I told you we were late getting back onto the ship. So now we had to rush and get ready for my birthday dinner because our reservations for dinner were at 6 o'clock and it was after 5:30 before we even got on the ship. So we quickly got ready for dinner and made our way there. So I had the amazing appetizer, the French onion soup. It is my favorite. Celebrities is by far my favorite. I have also had Princess Cruise Lines French onion soup, and it is good, but it is not as good as Celebrity. So if you do go on a Celebrity cruise, make sure that you try the French onion soup because it is amazing. I also had steak. I wanted to say this was Steak Diane. I could be wrong on that, but I think it was. And it had some vegetables and it had some potatoes. And it was really good. It was done nicely. And then they brought out a birthday cake for my birthday. So that was good also. So one of the things, if you go to the same dining room every night and you have the same table, you get to know your wait staff. And so this was our head waiter. Her name is Ida. And she was from the Philippines, I believe. If I remember that correctly, she was from the Philippines. Anyway, her birthday was the next day. So we were almost birthday twins. So we kind of took a little celebration birthday picture together, but we had an amazing wait staff, and they did a phenomenal job. So we were sure to tip them extra at the end on the last evening for dining. And if I am on a Celebrity ship again, I will ask if she is on there because I would love for her to be our waiter again. She did a phenomenal job. So after leaving Cozumel and having dinner, we ended the night at the theater for a production. I think this was the Whitney Houston tribute night. And we had a little drink. Now, funny story. This is actually a Shirley Temple, which is a non-alcoholic drink. But when the very first cruise that I ever went on, with my parents back when I was in like the 6th grade, I drank my weight in Shirley Temples like every day. And so I just thought it would be funny that to get a Shirley Temple again because I've not had one probably since then. So I ordered a Shirley Temple in the memory of my very first cruise that I went on. And so it was a great way to end my birthday evening. Be sure to come back and join us for part 6. Thanks for joining us here at Enjoy the View Travel on our latest travel adventures. Our contact information is listed below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave us a comment below. And until next time, enjoy the view.